Morning Year 12. In this weekly review we're going to be looking at how identifying and preventing network vulnerabilities, and I'm taking particular attention to the examination question. So if you followed your notes and you looked at the videos, you should be aware that these are the main problems when we come to network security. The idea of malicious software, of external parties trying to extract information through phishing, brute forcing of passwords or network entry points, DOS attacks, or where people deny access to the networks, data interception, when data is either travelling down the wire or through the ether that it's been hacked, and you should learn about the importance of encryption, and SQL injection to databases. And then the other side of that is it's people using these. You should be able to identify what mistakes make people, or what common mistakes make people a weak point in system security. So there was 3 excellent videos. If you had watched those, you would have got your head around what these meant, and then you should have been able to apply it to a very difficult exam question. It was difficult because 2 parts to it. The first part, you had to identify the threats with relation to that particular scenario. So it was a doctor's surgery. The scenario was a doctor's surgery, and they're trying to store patients' files. Now this isn't an exhaustive list, but the way it was marked is 1 point for identifying a protection method. So if we went back to how can you protect against malware, well, you can see if they used antivirus software, that's what would prevent it. If you're thinking about phishing, what would they prevent against phishing? Would it be training? Would it have been a firewall? If it was brute force, what techniques? What strong password techniques? If it was denial of service attacks, how would you what methods would you state to prevent against those? So any 3 sensible security methods with a qualifying point. So for example here, AV software, you get a point for stating it, but you must make reference to the doctor's surgery. And this, the idea that they should have up-to-date antivirus software installed on all machines and make sure they run regular checks if they want to quarantine files that aren't recognized, etc. AV. Access levels. The fact that they should assign different levels of access for every user. So if there is a brute force attack and someone's password is hacked and they get onto the system, well, they might only have read-only access to certain files, or there could be no access. So when you assign access rights to each individual user, what you're doing is you're mitigating against the threat if someone gets onto the system. And then final, firewalls. Firewalls can be used for lots of security procedures, but this idea that they're monitoring the files that are coming in and out of the network, and anything suspicious or from a banned list can be filtered out. So any of those 3, as I said, they weren't exhaustive, but you had to have a method of protecting the network and then make reference to the doctor's surgery. And again, this was difficult here because we're looking at, well, human error. There's lots of, we've talked about humans being a weak point in the network. What could they do in this scenario? So again, I was just looking, the examiner was looking, 1 for the error and 1 for a recommendation what you could do. And again, this isn't exhaustive, but it's very clear. For example, downloading infected files, what this is to do, you could have said use the firewall or restrict access. Error, sending and sharing data to third parties, restrict access to, for example, USB ports, to educate with the data protection legislation, blocking access to email, etc., etc. The other example was error, allowing physical access to certain parts of the network. So for example, within the surgery, you could cut certain limits, certain areas that would be off limit, and prevent access to that. And again, you could include, as even here, biometrics. There might be a machine, but it requires some type of login that could require what someone has, for example, a key card, or what they actually are, biometrics, iris recognition, etc., etc. And that's going to ban physical access, and that will help prevent against human errors. So lots to cover. My suggestion is that you pause the video, rewind, look at the answers, refer to the 3 videos that's been posted in your notes, and don't forget, we meet again Monday. Chat soon.